Welcome to the first new book releases of August. This is the week of books coming out August the 5th. Wow, that was really jumbled. I'm Morgan. If this happens to be your first time here, we have a huge list this week. There will be timestamps per genre, like always. The music, yet again, is probably not going to be book specific because time and kittens. If there's really weird cuts in this video too, that's because they decided to wake up again. And just, no time. School's going to start back very soon though, and we will have more time to get back to the editing and stuff. But right now, the kids want to do a lot of stuff, and we're trying to do a lot of stuff with them. So I kind of apologize. Only a little bit. Let's go ahead and get started though with Romantasy. My list is actually so out of order, but let's instead start with sci-fi, because Romantasy should probably be near romance, which is below something else. Things. Sci-fi though. Mercy of the Gods is coming out this week by James S.A. Corey. Very excited. Will I read it this month? Probably not, but very excited that it's there and available too. This book though is the first in the Captives War series. It says the Karax, part Empire, part a hive, have waged the wars of conquest for centuries, destroying or enslaving species across the galaxy. Now they are facing a great and deathless enemy. The key to their survival may rest with the humans of the engine. Caught up in academic intrigue and affairs of the heart, David Alcor is pleased just to be an assistant to a brilliant scientist and his celebrated research team. Then the Karax ships descend, decimating the human population and taking the best and brightest of Engine society away to serve on the Karax homeworld, and Diafid is swept up along with them. Then we have the first in a trilogy of novellas. I've never seen something like this, and there are actually two of them on this week's list, like this. Full Speed to a Crash Landing by Beth Revis. Ada Lamar may have gotten to this spaceship wreck first, but looters' rights won't get her far when she's got a hole in the side of her ship and her spacesuit is almost out of air. Fortunately for her, help arrives in the form of a government salvage crew, and while they reluctantly rescue her from certain death, they are not pleased to have an unexpected passenger along on their classified mission. But Ada doesn't care. All that matters to her is enjoying their fine food and sweet, sweet oxygen, until Rain White, the government agent in charge, starts to suspect that there is more to Ada than meets the eye. He's not wrong, but he's so pretty that Ada is perfectly happy to keep him paying attention to her, at least until she can complete the job that she was sent to pull off. Then we have an apocalyptic sort of sci-fi historical. It's a thing, guys. To Turn the Tide by S.M. Sterling. It's the end of the world as we know it. Everyone could see it coming, but one man could do something about it. Oh, he couldn't avert the nuclear holocaust. A scientist in Austria, ruthlessly using billions of research dollars for his own purposes, set himself up and out. He created a time machine and filled a warehouse with low-tech survival gear. Too bad he didn't get to use it himself. Instead, a team of American grad students led by their professor is sent back to the late Roman Empire. Even though they are experts in this time and place, they're about to realize that books and actual experience are very different things. Then we move into fantasy, and our first one up is Demon by Rob J. Hayes. This is the first one in the archive of the God Eater, as the God Eater saga is set up as a trilogy of trilogies. And he has released the first book in each trilogy here in the past 2 months. Now he will release the second book all at the same time for each trilogy. I'm not sure exactly when. But this is the last of the first books of the trilogies, and Archive of the God Eater is set 3,000 years before Age of the God Eater. That was the first set of trilogies that came out. This one says, Dian Houston was never meant to lead. She wasn't meant to survive. Kind of heart and quick of temper, Dian expects to lead a simple life, learning her father's trade. But unbeknownst to her, he was not always a carpenter. He was an exile, a traitor once known as the Peacebreaker. When nightmarish demons attack the village of Berry Whistle, her father is murdered. Dian and the survivors are taken as thralls to live out the rest of their days in squalor and back-breaking labor. But Dian's blood boils with the need to escape and take her revenge. They try to break her body. They try to break her spirit. Will Dian take up her father's hammer and unite her people? Our next book up is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This is her retelling of the Goose Girl story. Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms. There are no secrets in this house. and her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend, unless you count Fadala, her mother's beautiful white horse. The only time Cordelia feels truly free is on her daily rides with him. But more than simple eccentricity sets her mother apart. Other mothers don't force their daughters to be silent and motionless for hours, sometimes days on end. Other mothers aren't evil sorceresses. Our next one, I might mispronounce the author's name a little bit. I'm sorry. The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Dajili Clark. Evine the Eviscerator is skilled, discreet, professional, and here for your most pressing needs in the ancient city of Talabasi. Her guild is strong, her blades are sharp, her rules are simple. Those sworn to the matron of assassins, resurrected, deadly, wiped of their memories, have only 3 unbreakable vows. First, the contract must be just. That's above Evine's pay grade. Second, even the most powerful assassin may only kill the contracted. Evine's a professional. She's never missed a mark. Third, and simplest, once you accept a job, you must carry it out, and if you stray, a final death would be a mercy. When the Festival of Clockwork King turns the city upside down, Evine's newest mission brings her face to face with a past she isn't supposed to remember, and a vow she can't forget. Then her other first in a novella trilogy is In the Shadow of the Fall by Toby Ogundrian. Asheki is an acolyte in the temple of Ifa, yearning for the day she is made a priestess and sent out into the world to serve the Oshira. But all of the acolytes, she is the only one the Oshira refused to speak to. For years, she has watched from the sidelines as peer after peer passes her by and ascends to full priesthood. Desperate, Asheki attempts to summon and trap an Oshira, any Oshira. Instead, she experiences a vision so terrible it draws the attention of a powerful enemy sect and thrusts Asheki into the center of centuries-old war that will shatter the very foundations of her world. Moving right along into YA, we start with Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. The fire wasn't Marlo Wexler's fault. Dates should be hot, but not hot enough to warrant literal firefighters. Akela, the girl Marlo has been in love with for years, will never go out with her again. No one dates an accidental arsonist. With her house-sitting career up in flames, it seems the universe owes Marlo a new summer job, and that's how she ends up at Morning House, a mansion built on an island in the 1920s and abandoned shortly thereafter. It's easy enough giving tours, low risk of fire, high chance of getting bored talking about stained glass and nut cutlets and prohibition. Oh, and the deaths. Did anyone mention the deaths? We move along to Here Lies a Vengeful Bit by Cody Crowley. Between her careless mom, her cheating ex-boyfriend, and her rotten reputation around town, Annie Lane is used to being left behind, but she's never been left for dead before, until she wakes up to find her body's been dumped on a mountain rumored to raise the dead. Annie can't remember who killed her, but she'll stop at nothing to figure it out and make them pay, because girls like her don't get justice unless they take it for themselves. So, it's a perfect paranormal thriller to get us into fall season. And one that's going to be in one of the book boxes. The Girl with No Reflection by Keshi Chow. I feel like this one is also kind of a good fall vibe. Princess Ying Yue believed in love once upon a time. Yet, when she's chosen to wed the crown prince, Ying's dreams of a fairy tale marriage quickly fall apart. Her husband-to-be is cold and indifferent, confining Ying to a room for reasons he won't explain. Worse still are the rumors that swirl around the imperial palace, whispers of 7 other royal brides who, after their own weddings, mysteriously disappeared. Left alone with only her own reflection for company, Ying begins to see things, strange things, movements in the corners of her mirror, colorful lights upon its surface, and when, on the eve of her wedding, she unwittingly tears open a gateway, she's pulled into a mirror world. From there, we're going to move into Romantasy with one that I'm looking forward to because the first one was a really fun time. This is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. Notice to staff, there's been a disturbing increase in cheeriness, sprightly behavior, and overall optimism of late. Please resume your former dark, ominous terrors at your earliest convenience. Management. Evie Sage has never been happier to be the assistant to the villain. Who would have thought that working for an outrageously handsome, that's bad for his brand, evil overlord would be so rewarding? Still, the business of being bad is demanding. The forces of good are annoyingly persistent, and said forbidding boss is somewhat out of evil office. And there, I don't think that was any spoilers if you haven't read the first book, which is amazing that they started their description that way. From there, we're moving on to romance. with Dark Restraint by Katie Robert. This is the 7th book in the Dark Olympus series. This time we are following Ariadne Vitalis, who is in trouble. She's betrayed her father and his dangerous benefactor, and now she's left to rely on Olympus's questionable mercy. But in this city, mercy comes for a price. For Ariadne, that means a sham marriage to Dionysus. She has no choice but to agree, even if there's only one man she's ever wanted, a man she fears just as much as she desires. The Minotaur never had any illusions about Minos' plans. He was willing to get his hands dirty as long as the old man kept his word. At the end of their bloody work, the Minotaur would be given Ariadne as a reward. She's meant for him, and he intends to have her, no matter the cost. Then we have The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. Theo and Kit have been a lot of things: childhood best friends, crushes, in love, and now estranged exes. After a brutal breakup on a transatlantic flight to their dream European food and wine tour, they exited each other's lives once and for all. Time apart has done them good. Theo has found confidence as a hustling bartender by night and an aspiring sommelier by day, with a long roster of casual lovers. Kit, who never returned to America, graduated as the reigning god of his pastry school class and now bakes at one of the finest restaurants in Paris. Sure, nothing really compares to what they had, and the life stretches out long and lonely ahead of them, but hey, yeah, it's in the past. All that remains is the unused voucher for the European tour that never happened, good for 48 months after its original date and about to expire. 4 years later, it seems like a great idea to finally take the trip, solo, separately. Our fiction this week is 5-Star Stranger by Kat Tang. Would you hire someone to be the best man at your wedding? Your stand-in brother? Your husband? In an age where online ratings are all-powerful, 5-Star Stranger follow the adventures of a top-rated man on the Rental Stranger app, a place where users can hire a pretend fiancé, a wingman, or an extra mourner for a funeral. Referred to only as Stranger, the narrator navigates New York City under the guise of the characters he plays, always maintaining a professional distance from his clients. But when a nosy patron threatens to upend his long-term role as father of a young girl, Stranger begins to reckon with his attachment to his pretend daughter, her mother, and his own fraught past. Now he must confront the boundaries he has drawn and explore the legacy of abandonment that shaped his life. Our mystery is Agony Hill by Sarah Stewart Taylor. In the hot summer of 1965, Bostonian Franklin Warren arrives in Bethany, Vermont, to take a position as a detective with the state police. Warren has barely unpacked when he's called up to a remote farm on Agony Hill. Former New Yorker and back-to-the-lander Hugh Weber seems to have set fire to his barn and himself, with the door barred from the inside. But things aren't adding up for Warren. On the mysteries and thrillers, I'm going to try to give less. So, the mystery remains there. Then our thrillers is Gemma by Lauren A. Forey. Sometime between the late night and early morning hours, in a dank, uncomfortable interrogation room, sits a young woman about to tell a chilling story. Her pregnant sister Sarah is missing. Her cousin is somehow involved. They were down by the Schuylkill River last night, she says, but she won't say why. She's cold, terrified, and confused about what happened. Or is she just lying? You want to believe her. Her story seems plausible on the surface, but as you dig deeper, it's clear something is very wrong. Instead of helping find her sister, she keeps telling you stories about her ex-roommate, Gemma. Our last 2 books are thrillers, but they have a touch of horror to them. The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. After she's involved in a terrible accident, her editor sends her to a small backwards town of Rayford to investigate a clearly ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy human baby boy. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular town that is kinder to the horses they are famous for breeding than to their own people. As she's pulled deeper into the town and its guarded people, her sense of reality is tipped on its head, and is she losing her grip? Lastly for the week, we have Blood Like Mine by Stuart Neville. On a snowy December night, single mother Rebecca Carter drives her van into a snowbank to avoid hitting an elk on a desolate mountain highway. She's at the end of her rope, out of money and food. Still, she refuses to help a man in a pickup truck. Rebecca's adolescent daughter, Moonflower, is on the run from a grisly secret, and the last thing they can afford is to be remembered by anyone they meet. In this deadly high-stakes game of cat and mouse, nobody is safe and nothing is certain, not even the line between predator and prey. That is all for this week's list. If there's any books, though, that I didn't mention that you know of coming out this week, feel free to comment them down below so everybody can find out about them. Maybe you were still able to find something interesting to pick up off this list or add to your ever-growing TBR pile. I hope, though, that you enjoyed this one, you're finding something great to read today, and I'll see you in the next one.